Welcome to All Business No Bull, where we have frank conversations with entrepreneurs and business leaders about their journeys to success. Today, we step into the world of craftsmanship, culture, and chocolate, right here in Winter Park, Florida. Our guests, Edwin and Katherine Jablonskas, are visionary owners of AJ Chocolate House, a place that blends old European tradition with modern indulgence. With roots in Lithuania, Latvia, Norway, their chocolate houses have cultivated a near magical atmosphere, offering handcrafted treats that are as much of an experience as they are a delicacy. In this episode, we'll uncover their entrepreneurial story, the artistry behind their confections, and what it takes to build a thriving international chocolate empire. It's both a pleasure and an honor to welcome our special guests today, Edwin and Katherine Jablonskas. Katherine, Edwin, it's absolutely wonderful to see you again. You know, the first time that the Prime Minister, my wife Chandra, and I visited AJ Chocolate House, we instantly became fans, and we really didn't quite know why. It was just something that we liked very much about AJ Chocolate House. Now, when we met you and we sat down, we spoke, we understood immediately why. You know, given your energy, the good aura, the cachet that you had. And I'll tell you why I think. During my lifetime, I've discovered that behind every success story, business or otherwise, there's a personal story. And the personal story, along with that vision, connects directly to whatever it is that, whether it be a business or even any other kind of venture that has become a success, in the same way that a man's arm is connected to his shoulder. Could you share a little bit of your story with us?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. We're excited. And when we met you and your wife, we felt the same. We instantly connected, and it was absolutely wonderful to talk, and we're so happy to be here and talk more. I think that Edwin would be the best person to talk a little bit more about how this started and how we came to be here, since I think his name is right in the AJ Chocolate House.
Well, look, me and my dad, we started this business back in 2002. It was just me and him making chocolates in our basement, believe it or not. I was about 16 years old, and we experimented a lot. We played with chocolate like little kids. And of course, at the beginning, we failed and failed miserably. We had to go to France, we had to go to Belgium to learn how to make chocolates. But the most fun part of it was that we had passion for it, and we loved chocolate. Believe it or not, in the middle of the night, my dad used to wake me up and say, hey, son, I made this, try it. This is really, really good. And 20 plus years later, we are here in this location in Winter Park. And the reason why we're in Winter Park is because my mother moved to Orlando about 27 years ago. And I used to come to Florida every summer. I partially grew up here. So I do have an accent, but I do have a flip-flop tan that is permanent. So I feel half Floridian, and this is how we came to be here in Winter Park.
And a funny thing, they still do share the same childlike passion for chocolate. And, you know, I've heard somebody say, don't be childish, be childlike. And I always admire that when they talk about, flavors and what chocolate or what cake should come to be. It's always so inspiring. I like to make things pretty. They make things tasty. So this is kind of how we work. And we truly love Winter Park. And when we were looking where to start in the States, and when we were really thinking about the concept, I think that Winter Park, and especially Park Avenue, really ticked all the boxes because of the homey feel, of the walkability of the area. And if you're thinking about where it's best to be in the whole city of Orlando, can you really find anywhere better?
Edwin, what you said reminded me a bit about river rafting. Mm-hmm. Now, you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with river rafting with chocolates? Have the two of you ever gone river rafting before?
I have.
I have too, but I don't think we've ever gone together.
And I'll explain myself. if you've ever most people tend to think that the process of learning, and I'm referring more specifically to the types of experiments that you and your father were doing in the basement, and then going to formally learn about chocolate making. Most people think that learning chart is a very linear process, but actually it's not. It resembles something more like an EKG. All right, and so I had learned years ago as a military officer that decision making and learning very much resembles river rafting, and that you start off, you're all together in the raft, things are going slowly, everyone is laughing, and then things begin to pick up, and everyone starts getting splashed, and then the raft starts spinning around. But after that's all done, it becomes smooth again.
Business is like juggling chainsaws that are on fire while you're blindfolded at the beginning. It gets a lot easier later on when you gather experience.
And it doesn't change. You just later learn to enjoy it.
Your pain tolerance grows, and if you continue to be humble, if you continue to be open-minded and listen, then it becomes a lot easier. Just for example, when I have some new recipes or something, I always invite my friends and our regular customers to sit down and try it. The reason why I'm calling my friends is because they will be honest and they will tell me what they think. And even then, my wife comes in and says, "They're not right. This does not taste good. So we have to tweak this, do this. We have to add that, and so forth." So you have to learn all the time.
And you have to appreciate people. You
Yes.
have to take their opinion and you have to listen to them, because a business is what its customers are. You're doing this for other people to enjoy. Yes, there are businesses that are a little bit maybe less, front forward, right? But a business like this, a chocolate business, a restaurant business, it is created for people. So you have
Absolutely.
to listen to people. You have to listen to everything that they have to say, because this is who are you doing this for people to enjoy, for them to bring their families here, for them to come here to relax, to celebrate. And I really appreciate how honest our customers are. And I think that they feel that we try to listen and we work on the things that they mention. And it's really beautiful to see that response from them when we ask them about new dishes. And we've started seeing them becoming more and more honest and enjoying themselves, being part of the creation of new things. So people is what's important.
What both of you are saying represents exactly why they're being honest with you. I don't think I know that Edwin hit it exactly on the head as well as you did. Edwin mentioned the word humility, and then you mentioned the word people as well too. And that, if you were to take customer service and put it into a test tube in a nuclear centrifuge and spin it at ultra high velocity, I believe that the plutonium would be those two elements: humility and or the yellow cake would be humility and people, as well as the people who work under your charge and how you train them to deal with it. If you build the people will build the business.
If you build the people and you build and they build the business for you, that is very true. And we have great people working with us. We have so many people who have been with us here since even before we opened this location, which is extremely humbling, and we're so appreciative for it, because
It's also very uncommon too, especially in a restaurant type of business.
It is a
because
very
it's
high
very
turnover.
indicative.
Yes.
It's very indicative of you're doing something right, doing
We're
something
trying.
well.
We have people in this company who have been with us for more than 20 years,
20
in
years.
Europe. Yes. The reason being is, first of all, we love people that we work with. We are so blessed with our managers, especially here in this location. And I think that they're 90% of a success, really, because I cannot be here 24/7. They are here 24/7. They take care of the customers.
Well, not 24/7.
Not 24/7. Yes, but I know it's an exaggeration, but still,
It is.
they are the front of a business, and Of course, customers want to come in and see us, see me and Catherine, but we cannot be here from morning to dusk and also 7 days a week. But they're here, they greet them, they take care of them. And when I come in and I see those regular customers, they always tell me
How wonderful they are.
how wonderful they are, and that I should be grateful. And I am very grateful. I can show you the text messages between my managers, right? and I think they're becoming friends at this point.
Yes. And it's so very important that people care. And I think that is one of the things that you can't quite develop in people. They either care or they don't. And it's very important to find the people who care and to really nourish the people who care. And we have been, of course, it's always a trial and error. You keep working on it. There's, nobody perfect in this world, but that is a really important thing for us, to find the people who care and for us all to create something beautiful together. And I think that, we are getting established, and we have unfolded so many things throughout the past almost 2 years. And I think that I really do think we're just getting started to really create that feeling of what AJ Chocolate House is, the feeling that you get when you come here.
Your gratitude is the reciprocal mirror yin and yang effect of what you've been putting out. It really is. Anyone can sense it as soon as they meet you.
Well,
it's
thank
one
you.
of those things, It's something that, for example, children and animals can pick up very quickly if someone is good and if they're safe.
Yeah. Well, regarding people, I can add a little bit more. When they come in, let's say for interviews, right? And they don't know how to make coffee, they don't know nothing about chocolate or cakes. We can teach every single thing, and we can teach it very, very easily. But I cannot teach them how to be nice. That was their mother's job, right? So that you cannot change in an adult. You either have it or you don't. And this is the main thing that we look for when we are hiring, is somebody who is humble, somebody who is nice, who genuinely loves to work with people. If you don't have that, it will never be successful. And if you have people who don't care, people who do not appreciate those that come in through the door, and they're not ready to share what we have in our story, then business is not going to be successful, no matter what you do.
And that is another thing that we always think, there's, us as owners, of course I have a favorite chocolate. Well, a lot of them are my favorite, but I have favorite things, right? But I cannot center everything just about what I like. People ask, okay, which one's your favorite? What do you recommend? I can recommend so many things. And that's why we have such wide variety of chocolates and everything that we do, because that everybody could find something that they like. And I really want to always embrace that feeling, for us, it's quite, a childhood memory, going to a chocolate store and picking out your own chocolates. And, they're a little bit more common, I think, in Europe than they are here. Of course, you have memories here with chocolate stores, but creating that feeling for people that you can always find something that you like. And getting back to children too, it's always very interesting to see people bring their children here. It's a little bit more elegant environment, and at first, people, when they realize, they're bringing their kids dressed up, they're still bringing them, and it's really beautiful to see how children start behaving better, because it's a nice environment and you don't even have to tell them. They become so fancy and they enjoy picking out their own chocolates, and it's just so beautiful to see their smiles and their parents' smiles and just people enjoying themselves.
When we first met, we had a very interesting discussion about the third space. Millions of Americans are looking for a third space, and it's provided, meaning a space other than work and home, where they can go and be themselves, they can relax, and they can let go. Now, the economics of the third space is being met at places such as Starbucks or Foxtail Coffee with almost a franchise minimalist type of framework, which is not bad. However, we've noticed that AJ Chocolate taps into something quite different, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. when you come to AJ Chocolate, the atmosphere is somewhere between being magical and being almost being like at home. And it taps into something that's very potent, very powerful, but at the same time very delicate. And I'll tell you what it is. It's nostalgia, an aching for a return to a place that we once were, a place where we were loved. And I don't believe that this was all done by accident. It could be maybe just part of the goodness of your inner selves. But did you take that into consideration in building AJ Chocolate?
I think I can answer that. First of all, everything is designed to keep people in and not try to turn tables. What I noticed, well, I've spent a lot of time here in the United States, is that the culture is that you come in, you order food, then your server comes in, asks would you like a dessert, you say no, they drop a check, and that means it's time for you to go. Mm-hmm. So we specifically changed the way we do things here. A person comes in and they pay first, and then they don't get the check, they don't get that pressure. A lot of establishments, especially high turnover establishments, the ones that serve you your coffee in a paper cup, right? Mm-hmm. They have hard chairs. Why is that? So it would not be comfortable to sit there for a longer time. Yeah. And if you look around yourself, you have very comfortable seating here, especially because we want people to be here. We want people to have conversations, and people actually talk to each other. If you come in here during a busy time, you will notice one very interesting thing, that people are not looking at their phones. They're talking to each other. And then you go to other establishments and you see laptop screens, you see tablets, you
Absolutely.
see people. And with younger generation, what I've noticed that a lot of times when they meet for a first date, they don't really know how to communicate. So after 15, 20 minutes, you start seeing them sending messages on the phone to each other, despite sitting across the table. And here, people actually start to talk because they have something to talk about. They have beautiful desserts, they have chocolates. It's something that already brings joy and makes the conversation much, much easier. So yes, everything was taken into mind, especially that third place. This is the reason why we won Best of Winter Park Award, best place to take a date.
Because it's homey. And the nostalgia too. I think that it was very important for us to create a space that was not so sterile, that, nowadays everything is so streamlined and simple, and sometimes we forget the beauty of boldness and the beauty of interesting designs and hominess. So creating a very homey, cozy, nostalgic place where you can come back to that point, how you felt as a kid in your most cherished moments. It was important for us. And as Edwin says, we wanted to create a space where people don't feel rushed. And even though we still have some confusion with, why do you have to order by the register? We still have to explain that, how else would you see all the chocolates, right? But when we explain this to people, we want you to have that experience of going there and picking out your own chocolates. Yes, we can put everything on a piece of paper. You can mark it, which one you want, but then it loses all the charisma. It loses all the experience, and we want them to have the experience. We want them to pick with their eyes and to remember, because that's what they remember. And when you actually explain it to them and you see, birthdays with kids going to pick out their chocolates, or, or adults, they're all the same, or picking out their slice of cake and kind of seeing all these things, you really see those smiles on their faces. And it's very, very heartwarming and important. And then you see that they understand, oh, this is why it is so, right? And then I don't have to rush. We don't have to feel bothered that, soon, our server's going to come up, and then we will feel bad that, we're not leaving the table sooner rather than later, right? I think that it creates a space for people to relax, to actually relax. And I think that the complaint that we get is that our chairs are a little bit too comfy rather than not comfortable enough.
Well, I suppose as long as people don't fall asleep here,
No.
that might even be okay if they.
We have really good coffee to fix that.
The coffee is really good and strong, and I remember when we first started, everybody wants another shot, and we're like, 3 shots of this coffee is a little bit too strong. Try 2 first. And they were so surprised. Like, it would be so much easier for me to just sell another shot, of espresso. But
What you said a little bit earlier about the difference between seeing a picture of a chocolate on a menu and actually seeing the chocolates displayed reminded me of the old Russian playwright Anton Chekhov. Now you're thinking, river rafting, Anton Chekhov. What does this have to do with anything? My mind works a little bit differently, but I'll tell you what I mean by that. He once had a quote where he said, "Make the coins chink rather than to merely emit a pleasant sound." And so by having the clients, the prospects, the customers see the chocolates, you're making the coins chink, because you might remember that old picture. It was done by a French artist of a pipe, and above it said "Ceci, ce n'est pas une pipe." This is not a pipe.
Yes.
Where very much like, and again, I'll speak about something that seems like it's absolutely nothing to do with AJ Chocolate. There was a psychologist named Korzybski who had something called the laws of identity, where basically it was saying the map is not the territory, it's a representation of the territory. And so you have the territory behind us, which perhaps brings us to our next point, the art of curation. Now, I've been to other establishments, and it seemed as though the merchandising, the curation was not bad, but there was a layout, but it didn't seem to take into consideration anything really more than just laying out the chocolates. But I can see here that wasn't the case. You have a magical display, and I can't believe that it's just simply happens. It's done that it's randomly done that way. Do you have a rhyme, a way of putting out the display that would take advantage, perhaps, of the psychology of chocolate?
There is thought to it. First of all, the way that we made it long so that people could walk around it, that they would have the experience of picking out their chocolates. And another thing, the way that they're laid out, we always try many different options. We try to put all the fruit together and then all the nuts together. And then we realize that it's best to have variety everywhere, getting back to that variety, I think, and going into sayings, in Forrest Gump,
Yes.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And there's
the element of
beauty-
surprise.
The element of surprise. Yeah. You really want people to not have too much monotony. Because when you're looking at the chocolates, you're like, oh, maybe I like nuts. But then you say, oh, there's fruit. And then, maybe there's just a plain dark chocolate. You have to have a little bit of everything in each section of the display.
It has to be a little bit like a maze, so that the person would have an experience picking it out.
And have a discovery.
It's not fun just to come in and pick something off the shelf. No, right now you're included in the creation process. You have a beautiful box, and you're a chocolatier for those 15, 20 minutes when you're choosing and you're thinking. And the person who goes from one side to the other, who's working the person behind the counter, and he's picking those chocolates, that person is thinking of the person who is he gonna gift it to, right? So it gives more energy. It's a feeling, right? We could have everything put out that the person can come in and just grab a bag and leave, but that would not include that person in the creation of a gift or a token of appreciation, right? So that's why it is laid out as it is.
A little bit of everything everywhere, and it's beautiful to see people actually thinking about the loved ones that they're going to gift this to when they're putting a box together. It's beautiful because you see the thought and the love and the care, in something so simple as a box of chocolates. They put a lot of love into it, and
See, using the term "the psychology of chocolate" is not a silly way of characterizing it. And what Edwin was saying speaks directly to that. In that chocolate, the psychology of chocolate takes us back to our childhood.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and being able to having to go from one end to the other, looking for the chocolate that you would like, is very much like a child in a toy store.
Oh,
And it
yes.
allows adults for that moment of time to enjoy that happy childhood memory, whether regardless of whether they realize it or not. It's been years since I've been into a See's Candy, and I don't even know if they still exist. But See's Candy, the layout is very different. It's very much like those tests where you put a block into a block space or a circle into a circular space. Here is where you have the nuts, and here is, and I'm not saying that to put them down, because their work technology is such that you go and you buy and you leave, and therefore it's conducive to something like that.
But it's
You
a
know?
completely different concept.
Exactly.
They are a chocolate shop, but
Yeah.
us as a business, we're not only a restaurant. We're not only a chocolate shop. We are not only a wholesaler, importer, or a distributor. We're all these things at once.
You've introduced the element of fun.
So let
Exactly.
me give you an example. We have people who come in here every single day. They have a cup of coffee, a slice of cake, or a couple of chocolates. But when their companies need gifts, that's where they get them, right? And they have their favorite server, and they come in. I'm not gonna say any names, but let's say yesterday a person comes in, I need 22 boxes. Another person comes in, I need 15, 20 bucks. So it's different. You have these people here that enjoy themselves, and they want to take piece of AJ Chocolate House
Yes.
home, and not only because it tastes good, because the way it makes them feel while they're here, right? They want to spend time here, and they want to share that feeling with their team, with the loved ones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's an experience.
It's an
Absolutely.
experience, and I think it brings us to a very important part in our business, is that people might not remember your name, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And I think that is
A very wise statement.
a very important thing for us as a business. We want people to remember how this makes them feel. And we are still unfolding and still taking the time to properly introduce all of these concepts and all of these ideas that a chocolate house is not only a store where you come in and just grab things. How many people we have that, still haven't been inside, and they come in for the first time and they say that, oh, I thought it was just a store. And they are so surprised and so delighted to see what this is. And a lot of the times they come back when they dress a little nicer.
You see, very much in the same way that a honeybee finds a flower, then comes back to the nest and does that little dance,
Yes.
right? To tell all the other bees where the flower was.
Exactly.
When Chandra and I visited AJ Chocolate House, well, I didn't actually do the little dance for friends, but we started to tell other people that we found this marvelous place that goes beyond simply dining, goes beyond having a cup of coffee, but is an experience. And I can absolutely guarantee you that you've had many other clients, many other customers who've done exactly the same thing. And perhaps they tell you that too.
They do, and we appreciate it.
In the business, we say that it's very easy to get a customer to come in through the door for the first time.
Yes.
But it's very, very hard to make them come back,
Yes.
right? But we have so many people that come in and they bring their friends, and they have family in town. They bring them to show something because it's very different. We have people who've come in here with suitcases because they just landed in the Orlando International Airport, and they took an Uber and got
Come here and get chocolate.
They come here
Wow.
because they've seen us online.
Yes.
They haven't gone to a hotel yet, but
Wow.
they're here with suitcases.
Wow.
Right? So
Yeah.
so that word of mouth, it works. I meet
The
people.
honeybee.
Yeah.
The honeybee. And we always teach that also to our team, that it is very, very important to listen to what people have to say, and to really appreciate people, and to put attention to everything about their experience, because that's what's going to make them to come back. And that's what is important. If you work on that feeling that they have, on the feeling that they leave with, that feeling is going to bring them back.
AG Chocolate House is a very unique place. But at the end of the day, you're also business people. My wife and I used to own a chain of franchises, and the franchise concept is based upon duplication and standardization. Is AG Chocolate House the type of business that can be franchised, and would you even want to franchise it? Franchising could represent a lot of income for you.
We have franchises at the moment.
You do?
We do, of course, in Europe. Yes, we don't have any here, but eventually we would like to have some. I can tell you why franchise would work even better than me opening another restaurant myself. Mm-hmm. And a simple thing is, when you have a business owner that simply focuses on that location, can replicate the feeling that I give to my customers here in their restaurant, they will be much more successful. We opened a restaurant in Latvia, Riga, Latvia, right? It was one of our restaurants. It was successful. It was very successful, yes. But a couple bought it out from us as a franchise because they wanted to have it as their own. The sales went up 50%.
Really?
Why is that? Because they're there 5 days a week at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they take care of that place as much as I do, let's say, with this location that I spend my majority of time right now, right? So, yes, franchising works, and it works great. We can provide all the help they need. We can send people to help. I mean, everything is done and ready.
And I think that we just need to know what type of franchising this is. This is not, kind of like duplicate and over duplicate type of franchising. But this business is very versatile. We have different franchises in different cities, some that concentrate mostly, on a restaurant, some that concentrate more on wholesale. This is a very versatile business. And the people who manage the franchise, who buy the franchise, they can really tailor it to themselves. So it makes it their own. And that is the feeling that you need to have in order for this concept to be successful. It makes to make it their own. And that is the most successful type of franchising. Even if you look at the very initial stages, even of the big franchises that are currently in the United States, when they were first starting out, it was families, a husband and wife buying out the franchise and managing it. So this is how the franchises of our restaurants work the best, that when the people who own them really invest themselves. We're building a very big business here in the States. That's why we wanted to open here in the States, because we really see a huge potential to bring our quality of chocolate into the wider retail market. But if you're talking about the restaurants, they have to be family owned.
Otherwise, they lose something.
They lose the warmth.
They lose the warmth, and that directly translates to less sales.
Mm-hmm. Is your concern that if you go big corporate, that Mom's Cookies would become Momco?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure that if a big corporation, let's say, would buy a big share of our company, the name would probably change. A lot of things would change. Right now, you have authenticity. You come to this restaurant, you'll see me eating cake and drinking coffee.
Yes.
You come to different locations, you most likely will meet my brother or my dad, or and you can shake our hand. You can talk to us. I don't see that happening in Starbucks. I don't think that Starbucks. You don't see a Starbucks CEO drinking coffee there.
And I think
at least I haven't.
Well, I haven't either, but I think that, also that you mentioned that was part of why you enjoyed it so much here, that it felt homey.
Absolutely.
And in order for it to feel homey, you can do all of the design that you want. You can put all the nice chairs and tables, and you can do everything. But if you don't have the personal warmth behind all of that, it's just not going to feel warm. You have to have the people who really care about that place. And I really see this as a very fun business. A lot of our franchisees actually enjoy it because you get to put your own touch on it, your own spin on it.
They can put their own face on it.
Their own face and their own warmth. They're still AJ Chocolate House. They're still the core.
Still close enough to feel the pulse.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can have your own.
Have you noticed how people say, I want to go to that restaurant because I know the owner? I'm sure you have, right?
Absolutely.
People feel completely different when they know the face behind the business, right? When that owner knows them and maybe even remembers what exactly they like,
Yes.
right? So that's why it has to be family.
Yes.
Well, one person can be good, but it's always beneficial when one person can help another. Let's say me and my wife, we work as a team and we always have. I would not be able to do this on my own. I'm sure that she could probably do it on her own.
No.
But when there's
Absolutely
two
not.
people, it's a lot easier to manage and see things, right? I can make things taste really good. I can come up with new recipes. But she makes this place magical. And she thinks about it and she sees things that I would never see or I would pay attention to.
And it doesn't have to be a husband and wife team. We have mother and daughter businesses. It's just that touch of family is very, very important for this to be successful.
Something that adds to the concept of the third space for AJ Chocolate House are your events. And I can speak to them, but I don't want to because I'd like you to speak to them because you have so many different types of events and beautiful events too. It could be anything ranging from music to tastings. Could you give us just a very a nice holographic image of some of these events?
First of all, we have Ladies' Night every Tuesday with live music, and we truly enjoy the musicians that we have here. They're young musicians, and especially the violinist. I think she's been
great.
doing really great. We also do chocolate and wine tasting events.
Chocolate and wine tasting.
Chocolate and wine tasting. We do some publicly. I think every 3 months we do them, but we can do them privately. And those private events, people love them.
Do people have to bring their own wine?
Oh no, we sell wine.
Oh,
we
okay.
have
You have a
wine.
license.
Of course, we sell wine and beer.
Okay.
We can even create baskets for you with a bottle of wine
okay.
if that's what you'd like.
Baskets too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Gifts is the biggest part
Sign
of
me
what we
up.
do.
Yeah, sign me
Well,
up.
we have a box there for you. We
Okay.
have to try some of those chocolates too. But especially the private and semi-private events is a big part. People love to celebrate their birthdays here. It's a special place. Anything from a tea party, birthday theme, to a corporate chocolate and wine tasting for your team or for your clients and vendors is a very popular thing that we do. So people enjoy them. Chocolate and wine, they go together. And you can really have a fun and very joyful, interesting experience, and we enjoy them ourselves as well.
I have a lot of fun doing them. The reason being is also we get to interact with people and we spend around 2.5 hours, maybe sometimes 3, depending on a crowd. But during that time, people are not only enjoying their wine and chocolate, they also have time to ask questions about chocolate, right? You cannot Google everything, right? You want first-hand experience. And especially when people get a little bit of social lubricant, as we say, a couple of glasses of wine, those questions come out a little bit more freely, and that conversation becomes a little bit more genuine and deep, and that's how we made quite a lot of new friends.
In vino veritas.
And
Well, let me ask you this. Because of the constraints of time, as well as my own lack of knowledge, I suppose, regarding the business, is there anything maybe perhaps you would have wanted to have mentioned earlier that maybe we didn't?
I think we spoke about a lot of things. I think that the biggest thing for us is to really talk about the feeling that we want to create with this business. And the thing that I would really like to mention is gifts. Gifts.
Okay.
Gifts. We do gifts is the biggest part of what we do. Chocolate makes a great gift for any occasion, anything from happy to sad. There's no wrong place for chocolate. And it can brighten up any occasion. And the gifts that we offer, we really put a lot of heart into it. And you can see the beautiful boxes that we have.
Absolutely.
Anything from different types of boxes, custom boxes. We can put your logo anywhere from chocolate on the box. We can create beautiful gifts. And it's a very big part of how we like to share the chocolate. Everywhere we go, we bring chocolate. And people are like, oh, you don't have to, but we want to. We want everybody to experience the gift of chocolate. So gifts is definitely one of the things that I would like to mention, that it's so easy to give people like things that they don't need, some little, little statuettes or trinkets, but giving them an experience is a lot more valuable, we feel. And again, going back to that feeling of how it makes them feel, to create that moment of joy and happiness and interest of picking out your own chocolates. We really love gifting that experience. So if you need gifts, I think chocolate
If you
makes
need
a
gifts, it's a
beautiful
very
gift.
easy solution for you. If you have customers or you have your team that you want to appreciate, don't gift them a logo cup, but nobody will ever use it.
Or a
Will end
pen.
up in Goodwill the next day or somewhere in a cupboard. But if you give them chocolate, I can guarantee you that
will
it will be
remember.
remembered and it will be appreciated. And even if I go somewhere, I always bring 2 boxes, right? If I go to somebody's office. One goes to the receptionist and the second goes to the person I'm meeting. Why is that? Because the receptionist is the second most important person after the boss, right?
The gateway.
The
gateway.
gateway. If she liked it,
Gatekeeper.
she will say a good thing about you,
Yes.
right? And it will make things a lot easier.
Very smart, yeah. Well, if folks want to get in touch with you for whatever reason, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, they can find our website, ajchocolate.com. We also have an online store, so you can buy all of these things online. It would be shop.ajchocolate.com. We can be reached by email, by phone. All of our contact information is on our website, and you can find that there. So,
Is Instagram a good way to get in touch with you too?
Instagram too, AJ Chocolate House USA, because we have other locations. So if
Alright.
and do follow us on social media, because we post a lot there. I'm actually going to be making a video today. We're going to be trying something fun and new.
Yeah.
And
We're going to be talking about our newest product, Brothers Bond Chocolate.
My mouth is already watering.
so definitely AJ Chocolate House USA on Instagram. We're also on Facebook, AJ Chocolate House USA, and you can find all of our contact information on ajchocolate.com.
Well,
Or you can call the store. You
All
can
of the
find-
information is on the website.
All right. Well, folks, it was really wonderful sitting and speaking with you two beautiful people.
Likewise. It's our pleasure. We already told you, we feel so comfortable and nice, and we connected instantly when we spoke, and this is absolutely no different.
Yeah,
we had
we
a
feel-
beautiful time.
We
I'm
felt
sure this
exactly
is
the
going to be
same
one
way.
of the most famous podcasts in the United States
Yeah.
soon.
I hope so. I
Yes.
hope so.
Yes.
Well, thank you so very much. And thank you for folks for attending another episode of All Business No Bull. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.